And for all items, you've got 2 minutes, and if it's general public comment as well, you have an additional 1 minute.
You know I come from America, because in California, America, I category exempt to live in housing. However, under HHH, beach, I find trouble in report to municipal facilities to communicate requests. I authorize my nigger diplomacy to general service. I no negotiate to execute Paloma Street used as a shelter. I demand affordable housing like all North Korean motherfuckers. You see, I vote for HHH, beach, and get no property. No property. I fucking Korean too, American. But no. Well, as City Los Angeles, no follow guidelines to CEQA, Article 3, and classify me under fucking FBI investigation with Jose Huizar for HHH, bitch. So you see, you cannot lease property. Property belongs to people. People need housing. People need a fucking affordable housing to live in fucking shelter. No way. Because I know what HHH money do for me. I the oversight king of HHH. I created the bitch. And you too fucking Bond Insurance. You know Donald Trump is right. You fucking wetbacks. You fuck with me. Immigrant. I'm fucking immigrant. Can speak fucking word of English. I under the coup of that man up there pointing his fucking finger at me. I don't want to be assassinated because I'm black. No. Why the motherfucker pointing finger at me just for housing? HHH is all my dream. I have nothing more affordable in Los Angeles to accommodate me with multiple housing. You let that fucker Huizar take our money. I don't speak very good English, but I know money. That motherfucker took money from the FBI too, and he says, fuck the FBI. You, Huizar, you fucking corrupted sucker, bitch.
So for those of you who may be here for the first time, and there may be a few of you here, there are a couple of speakers who, like you just heard, who attend virtually every single committee hearing and every city council meeting, and they use foul, racist language every single time just to get a rise out of people. So please ignore it. They're just exercising their First Amendment rights, and we have to live with this nonsense. It's just part of the deal. Having said that, our next speaker is Wayne Spindler. And we're joined by our colleague Marquise Harris Dawson.
Good. The next Marquise, next Huizar. He changed his name to Huizar. There we get to number one. Number one, offend all Asian motherfucker like me. Everybody know CD14, Jose Huizar. Where is he? He in prison. Why he not here? Put an ankle bracelet. Put his ass in the fucking chair. Let us have questions for Jose Huizar. Bring FBI, bring U.S. Attorney, put him in chair like we do in North Korea. Put his ass in fucking chair. Everybody ask him question for 44 days straight. And we put him in cage and make him eat rat outside that. Yes. So why the fuck we do this shit? Paloma Street, no. We must suspend all action on Nava. Put that motherfucker Huizar in the goddamn penitentiary and put a new replacement for a new person from CD14. And who is going to replace him? The only answer is another criminal. Yes, so we got to put more criminal on the council. We have 15 criminal, we get rid of 14 criminal, we put 14 criminal, then we get more criminal. Now we go to HHH, bitch, bitch, bitch. Everybody know HHH lie. HHH is made by Hilda, Weezer, and Harris Dawson. HHH is a lie. Do not believe the HHH. I am here. Where? In my fucking apartment. I don't have an apartment. I live in cocksucking car. All the time, 101 freeway, I'm in car. I go home, 101 freeway, I'm in car. I eat Taco Bell in fucking car. And I just want to know, why do I have to eat Taco Bell in a car? Because I'm not here stealing the money with you. This is the rope of honor. If you are on this side of the rope, you get all the free fucking money at Taco Bell, prostitutes, and cocaine. If you're on this side of it, the only thing you get, $1 off of your meal and a goddamn fucking car to sleep in. That's all you get. And I'm tired. The Monica, everywhere you go. Board of Public Work, Monica Rodriguez. CD7, Monica Rodriguez. Now she over in CD12. Fucking putting another thief in the goddamn chair of Mitchell Englander. So no, fuck you, fuck Mitchell Englander.
Okay, everyone take a deep breath. Our next speaker is Antonia Ramirez, who has filled out a card for one of the items and then public comment. So, Ms. Ramirez, you get 1 minute for your item and 1 minute for general public comment.
My general public comments, please. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I've been having somebody urinating on my tent while I'm asleep. And I'm dealing with a lot of nigger gang stalking at night and day. They've been harassing me, following me, and violating me in every place that I go to, from the Music Center Grand Park blocks 1 and 4 bathrooms. They've attacked me, robbed me, vandalized me, and yesterday morning they threw water at me or threw something at me. They grabbed all my things from my tent and threw them out of my tent as I was getting up in the morning right across the street in front of the police's nose. And they took several of my accessories and my things, and everybody's watching. I went running to the door, to the window glass, asking for help from the LAPD. Nobody would come and help me. Nobody. I don't do shit like that to any fucking nigger. Why would they do that to me? I've never hurt a nigger, yet they come and rob me, throw things at me, and throw my things out and destroy my things. Nobody came to help me yesterday. That's what pisses me off. And yet I'm supposed to be quiet about it because nobody wants to hear it. I live this shit every fucking day from these fucking niggers, night and day, everywhere I go. Bathroom, toilets, restaurant, everywhere. They're right on my ass. And ladies and gentlemen, on number 2, let's not be corrupted. As of Friday, I told Sarah my caseworker from Concerned Citizens, take me off your list. I don't want your help. I don't want your representation because you haven't done anything. You're too busy housing all the fucking wetbacks and gangbangers and drug dealers at the El Pueblo New Bridge housing, which is not a success. It's a pathetic way of putting good people on the streets and all the criminal fucking felons in that place. And furthermore, the staff has lied to the LAPD about their misconduct in there. There's so much crime happening and drug dealing going on there. It's a criminal enterprise at El Pueblo New Bridge housing. Who is watching them? Who is held? Why aren't they held accountable? Nobody is watching them, yet there are genuinely good black, white, Latino, and Asian people on the streets. Help
All
them.
right, our next speaker, we have John Poser. John Poser, who has one card on item number 1, and then general public comment. Sir, you'll have 2 minutes, one for each item.
Thank you. I would like to address those who oppose bridge housing because it might be near their small businesses. Are they aware that many of the unhoused in the Fashion District, as elsewhere in LA, are people who have worked and paid taxes for years, if not decades, and that those taxes help build and maintain the streets, sidewalks, lighting, and sewer systems so crucial to their success as small business owners, and that those taxes also help provide the police, firefighters, and sanitation services their businesses depended on every day. So if you can't support bridge housing as a moral imperative, how about viewing it as payback for people who helped you? After all, you didn't do it alone. Why should they? Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Corey Mack. Item number 1, and then general public comment, 1 minute for each. Corey Mack.
Hi, I'm here to talk on behalf of Bridge Housing. I think the weather in LA right now is underlining the urgency of why we need this. People are out in the street under horrendous conditions. This can't go on. Businesses are opposed to this in many cases, but these people are out in front of their businesses. If they are so concerned about this, then they should be in favor of bridge housing, because one way or the other, these people who have been dispossessed of their homes are without homes. They have to go somewhere. So it's either out on the sidewalks in front of them, or it's in temporarily bridge housing until LA can find more permanent solutions, like making affordable housing in the city. I also support making animals welcome in these shelters. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Lisa Marie Nava. Lisa Marie Nava. And if you have filled out a card for general public comment, you can certainly give your general public comment. The last couple of speakers, I have that, but you didn't necessarily speak on general. So item number 1 and general public comment.
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Marie Nava, and I'm here on behalf of the She Does movement. Everyone deserves a safe place to be. This includes our homeless neighbors. Bridge housing with wraparound services will literally be saving lives. Every day I come across homeless men, women, children who are in a constant state of emergency because they have no place to go, along with multiple issues on top of another issue. This is on top of already being unhoused. I ask that you please approve the Fashion District Bridge Home. You will literally saving 115 lives, and this could be someone's father, someone's uncle, someone's aunt. So I ask that you and the businesses around it please consider this is someone's family. So thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Kendrick Rustad. Kendrick Rustad, general public comment, and item number 2.
Hi there, Kendrick Rustad. I'm running for City Council, District 14 in 2020. And my background is in architecture and design. And so I am very supportive of supportive housing. And it is a necessary step, especially here in LA, which we have the nation's largest permanent homeless community in Skid Row. They're my neighbors. I walk around there all the time now. I've got a political science professor that's homeless. It's going to help me with my speeches. I've got a legal secretary who was homeless, and she's been helping me out as well. And and there's definitely a need. I walked by the Skid Row Housing Trust, and a young lady with a dog couldn't find housing because of her dog. And I thought, well, Downtown Dog Rescue, they helped me with my dogs. I think you've met them. So I'm all about networking, and the world works so much better when you can help each other out and network, and then you don't have these big problems that just grow and grow and grow and then spread. So I strongly advise that you that the City Council approve this, take care of it before it gets worse. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Michael Grepp. General public comment, 1 minute. Item number 1, 1 minute. Michael Grepp.
How's it going? My name is Michael Grepp. I'm just here to speak on behalf of the She Does movement, along with Monday Night Mission regarding affordable housing in Los Angeles. You know, I think you can look at society as a whole. We're only as strong as our weakest link. And I think people are afraid of temporary ramifications of, you know, homeless shelter being built in their backyard, or just kind of any types of public services that might temporarily interfere with their lifestyle, their living, their property values, what have you. But when you look at everything as a long-term solution on a larger scale, it's something that it helps everyone. Downtown Los Angeles used to be a very undesirable place to live. Same with Venice, and we've seen those communities kind of slowly come back to life. And in order to really make Los Angeles' downtown, especially a really desirable, kind of the hub of the city, we have to provide solutions for the disenfranchised, for the homeless, for the mentally ill, and end the stigma, and not make people feel uncomfortable supporting them, but also make it where we feel responsible for each other. It's so easy to forget that we're all in this together, that sure a lot of you guys are here today as your job, but it's more than just your civic duty in terms of what pays your bills. It's bigger than all that. It's about compassion. It's about caring for people, and it's about just lifting everyone up, rising up, and making this country the best place to live. I almost said making America great again, but I feel like that has a lot of that can be a loaded word, sadly. But we should be here to just make everyone's lives as great as we can, and we do that. The only way we do this is through compassion, through helping others, and feeling good about our decisions, not about our bank accounts. So thank you guys very much for your time. I hope something I said resonated with someone, and that we can continue to move in the positive and right direction for everyone, regardless of background, race, color, anything. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Next, we have initials LQ. LQ? Initials LQ. Anyone responding to those initials, LQ? General public comment and item number 1? I think not then. All right, then that brings us to, colleagues, what I'd like to do is move on then to item number 1. And Mr. Reeve, if you could please read item number 1.
Item number 1, California Environmental Quality Act analysis and categorical exemption from CEQA pursuant to Article 19, Sections 15303, Class 3E, and 15332, Class 32, as well as City of Los Angeles CEQA Guidelines, Article 3, Section 1, Class 36, and motion Weezar O'Farrell relative to the property located at 1426 Paloma Street in Council District 14 to be developed as a suitable location for bridge housing project, and to approve the report from Municipal Facilities Committee dated 10/2/2018 requesting authorization for the Department of General Services to negotiate and execute a new lease at 1400 to 1426 Paloma Street for use as a homeless shelter.
Thank you, sir. And we have several comment cards on this item, but before we hear those specific to item number 1, we have Mr. Martin Schlageter from Council District 14 speaking on behalf of our colleague, Councilmember Jose Weezar.
Thank you, council members. Mr. Chair, thank you very much for taking this item at your earliest opportunity in your new committee. Appreciate that. I wanted to, well, first of all, I'm Martin Schlageter. I'm the Policy Director for Council District 14. I wanted to today just take a moment to not just express the councilman's position on this and thoughts on this, but also a little bit about the process that has led this piece of property to come in front of your committee today. As you know, we've been, as a city, your offices and our office, scouring our city-owned properties to try to identify sites where we can have housing and facilities, long-term housing, temporary emergency housing, even parking lots where people are able to use their vehicles as beds while they get managed to long-term housing. This piece of property is privately owned, and the property owner approached the county to offer it in the fight against homelessness. The county and its service providers did an assessment of this site and evaluation and declared an interest in using this site as around 115 beds of emergency shelter. And it's at that point that the city got involved. The council office and the mayor's office and the city departments under City Homelessness Coordinator Mack Barkley began an evaluation of this site in the middle of last year, toward the fall of last year. And our interest was in trying to identify whether this 115 beds of emergency housing could operate under the Bridge Home program that was initiated by the mayor and funded by this council. Because there are additional benefits that operating under that program provides. As a part of that evaluation, we've held 2 public meetings, both very well attended, for which we have promoted through mail to, we did direct mail with a half-mile radius from the site. Our staff canvassed the area to drop off flyers for these meetings at every building and business. We did coordinate with the Fashion District bid to promote the meetings, inform them about it. Their boundaries come right up to the border of this area. And we also did presentation to the neighborhood council. We've also been able to take some of the interested stakeholders on site visits to the existing Bridge Home program facility in our district at El Pueblo. And we expect to continue to have this kind of stakeholder engagement should this housing go forward, to make sure that there's a direct line of communication between the service provider and the neighbors, and that the neighbors have ability to sort of shape some of those operations. As you know, the Bridge Home program provides additional benefits for areas in which we're able to locate emergency housing. Additional enhanced services, sanitation services, LAPD, outreach services, all coordinated under the Unified Homelessness Response Center. We're optimistic about those services having an impact on this area, and believe that there'll be a real change seen when enhanced services are provided all the way from the site down to as far as Washington Boulevard. The Bridge Home program also operates under specific standards to ensure that sites meet the name and the title, bridge housing. And that is to say that the residents of this temporary emergency shelter are stabilized and case managed toward long-term housing. And that's done through intensive wraparound services provided on site and access through the full range of county services that are available through this service provider. It also is an expectation of 24-hour operations with programming on site to try to minimize the comings and goings on the street and really maximize the stabilization and the program uptake that's happening inside the building. In addition, 90 days before any of these sites opens, there's additional outreach that happens that continues as the sites are operational, but in advance to try to identify people who are already living on the street in the area to be the residents that take up the beds in the emergency housing. most benefit the area and to be able to support the folks who are living and take folks who are living on the street off of the street and into the program. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people living on the street in the area. It's an area with daily concerns about health and safety due to the number of people that are living unsheltered there. In fact, from south of Skid Row, 7th Street, down to just past Washington Boulevard, from Maple Avenue to Alameda Avenue, you've got about 600 people living unsheltered in just that small portion of the downtown area. And that count was about 100 people more than the year previous. So there's a dire need there. And of course, there's a dire need beyond that, and we continue to be looking for sites. And just recently, this council approved directing city staff to evaluate a number of other sites in the area. For example, the downtown Women's Center, which is in Skid Row, there's a possibility of building long-term housing on their parking lot, but in the near term to do emergency overnight shelter for up to 24 beds in their lobby. There's 2 other Skid Row area sites that are privately owned that we're evaluating, one of which came to our attention through a property owner in the Paloma area who said, I also own another property in the Skid Row area. We've agreed to have a look at that to see if it's viable for any of these uses. Washington Boulevard, another site which could potentially provide some temporary housing structure, or perhaps be used as safe parking. And of course, right across the street in Civic Center, we're looking at a vacant city property for the possible use of emergency housing. Unfortunately, no one building is going to meet all of the demand. The demand is too great. And so the council office supports using this site, 1426 Paloma, under the Bridge Home program as emergency housing. And I hope you'll support item number 1. I urge you to, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Rue.
Thank you so much for your thorough presentation. I just have one quick question. My office, for the record, had received no calls or any inquiry of any kind, but I just wanted to make sure that I know you did extensive outreach, and thank you for all the things that you did, but if you could comment on especially some of the garment manufacturing businesses that are in that area, the special outreach that you did to that group?
Sure. So if you're not familiar with the site, it is largely industrial site, and the site itself is used as clothing warehouse. The property owner intends to continue to operate his adjacent portion of the site, so he has an ongoing interest also in ensuring that the functions are compatible with operating a business in the site. So there are a number of concerned businesses, I think on both sides, that have come forward to our well-attended community meetings, and we have an awareness that this needs to be operational in a compatible way with businesses right around the site. To your point, in addition to the canvassing that we did to each building in the surrounding area, we did do direct mail that went a quarter mile outside the area. Our outreach to the fashion industry was primarily through the bid itself, Fashion District bid. I did participate in a presentation of their board, and we've continued to keep them apprised of the progress of this evaluation process, as well as the community meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schlageter. All right. So we have a number of comment cards on this item alone, and we're going to start with Marie Rumsey. Marie Rumsey, followed by Don Garza, followed by Mel Tiller-Karotne.
Hi, good afternoon, council members. My name is Marie Rumsey, and I'm here on behalf of the Central City Association, and I'm here to echo the comments that Martin gave from CD14 and voice our support for the Bridge Home program and for this site. We believe this is a great first step towards housing people, and we hope you will support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Don Garza, followed by Mel Tiller-Karotne, followed by Amara Ononiwu.
Garza, longtime resident of downtown Los Angeles, started on the streets when we didn't have tents. We only had cardboard boxes. Moved into supportive housing. I had a really hard time accepting the bridge shelter issue, but Mike Bonin, we had a discussion on social media, and I was reminded of my advocacy work with homeless. And one of the issues that always comes up is that when a person gets off the street and they take a shower or they're inside for a couple of days, they remember and they enjoy it and they like it. And when you get that phone call at 3 in the morning and somebody worried about losing whether a hotel voucher or losing their housing, how can they continue? You know you've been successful in that type of advocacy work. And I believe the Bridge Shelter Program provides an avenue for people to come inside and remember who they were before they were on the street. So I support the Bridge Shelter Program earnestly.
Thank you, Mr. Garza, and I'm glad to hear that you had a productive conversation on social media. We should have many more of those. All right, Mel Tiller-Karotne, followed by Amara Ononiwu, followed by Greg Spiegel.
Council members of Farrell, Rodriguez, Ryu, and Harris Dawson. I was at the community meeting for the Paloma shelter a few weeks ago when I saw one of the gentlemen who's in this audience politely asked to speak with Deputy Mayor Miller regarding the proposed bridge housing site. And when he tried to talk when Deputy Mayor Miller asked, "What do you want?" they said, "We want to talk with you guys." And she arranged for a meeting, and his first response was, "Just so you know, we don't want it." Word for word, that was their response. We're in a time and stage in LA where we don't have time for this. We need bridge housing. We need it in every single district of this city. And we, as residents of Los Angeles, will support you from Schrader to Paloma to Lafayette to any single bridge housing project there is. If you put it forward, we will be there. We will support you because this is what this city needs. So just came here to say, please pass this, and you have our support. Thank you.
Thank you. Amara Ononiwu, followed by Greg Spiegel, followed by Emily Karsick.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Amara Ononiwu, and I live, work, have my business, and worship here in downtown. And I'm here to raise my voice in support of a bridge home at 1426 Paloma. I want to start by saying that in a crisis, no one solution is going to satisfy the needs of everyone, but I believe we have to continue to uphold and restore the dignity of our brothers and sisters who have found themselves on the streets. I believe that a bridge home is that opportunity, and I want to offer you one thing. The choice to partner with Home at Last, I believe, is a good one. Their perspective is needed in this crisis. I urge you to invest in allowing them to build to their conceptualization. The very innovation of their design places people on a more congruent path to permanent housing. And if there are still dissenters, then I would guess that the majority of them did not have to contend with the cold and the rains recently and with any uncertainty. So we can no longer afford to compromise in the comfort of our homes at the expense of other people's lives. I urge you to move forward with this project and to make it a success because the city depends on it.
Thank you. Thank you. Greg Spiegel, followed by Emily Karsick, followed by Caleb Crowder.
Good afternoon, Greg Spiegel, Inner City Law Center. ICLC asks you to support the shelter at 1426 Paloma. As you know, each time a project comes forward to help address the city's gap in shelter housing, there are a collection of neighbors who say, not here. There's nothing new in this. It's been happening for years. Public housing, not here. Affordable housing, not here. Supportive housing, not here. Shelter, not here. When one asks them, if not here, then where, they typically answer, anywhere but here. One project at a time, year after year, decade after decade, not here has been good enough to stop enough projects to result in a catastrophic shortage of affordable housing and shelter that leaves Angelenos on the street.
No location is going to be perfect, and it's never going to be unanimous. After all these years and all this homelessness, we can no longer wait for the perfect. We must go forward with the good. We respectfully ask you to support this shelter. Thanks.
Thank you. Is Emily Karsick here? Thank you. And then Caleb Crowder, followed by Mike Dennis.
Hi, my name is Emily Karsick, and I'm from Inner City Law Center. I provide legal services to homeless veterans and help them access VA benefits, including health care and housing. It's a privilege and honor to serve those who have served our country. One client I work with is a homeless veteran named Aaron, who served in the Navy for more than 3 years, was stationed in Iraq, and served on an aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf. While in service, he earned multiple medals, including the National Defense Service Medal and the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. In June 2017, Aaron walked into our office for help with his VA benefits case, and he also asked if I could place him into a shelter because he had been living with his father under a bridge. We called multiple shelters but were unable to find a bed for him, and one shelter even said they had a 6-month waiting list. We finally found one available shelter bed in downtown LA. The hardest part of my job is having to tell veterans like Aaron who desperately want shelter that there's no room for them. They have sacrificed almost everything for our country, and that they need our help. The rejection can end here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Caleb Crowder, followed by Mike Dennis, followed by R.D. Pleshert.
Hello, I'm Caleb Crowder. I'm with the Everyone In campaign. I'm here today to express my support for the 1426 Paloma Street Bridge housing site. Bridge housing is an integral part of our approach to ending homelessness. There are concerns because maybe bridge housing is temporary, but it's intended to be because the long-term goal is permanent supportive housing. We want long-term solutions for our unhoused folks. Permanent housing isn't going to happen overnight, though, so building supportive housing projects often take years, right? So in the interim, we need bridge housing. Will the community feel the impact of this project? Naturally, but that uncomfortable feeling of change is necessary. Regardless of whether or not you support this site or bridge housing in general, it would seem that we agree that these folks that are without shelter and without housing shouldn't be living on the streets. So I invite those opposed to be part of the solution, and I invite this council to please support the 1426 Paloma Street Bridge housing site.
Thank you. Mike Dennis, followed by R.D. Pleshert, followed by Chloe Rome.
Good afternoon, Council Committee. My name is Mike Dennis. I'm the Director of Organizing with the Everyone In campaign and the United Way. I'll keep my comments brief. I think you know why we're here. We're here to support this bridge site particularly, and all bridge sites. Our main organizing work this past year has been organizing at a neighborhood level to build support for the construction of supportive housing. And bridge housing is a critical component to that. I have a map right here in front of me that shows a census tracts with the count of people experiencing homelessness in all of the census tracts just surrounding this particular site. We've got 5,526 people that are classified as homeless. 3,300 of those folks are unsheltered. So the need is astronomical. Quite frankly, we need a dozen more of these in this particular area. So we strongly support this. We strongly support any council member and their office that's willing to stick their neck out and do the right thing. So thank you.
Thank you. R.D. Pleshert, followed by Chloe Rome, followed by Sister Grace.
Thank you. My name is R.D. Pleshert, and you came so close to pronouncing it correctly.
I tried. Thank you.
As a senior disabled citizen and a very recent past resident of the streets of Skid Row and the Fashion District, I want you to vote to develop the property located at the addresses 1400 to 1426 Paloma for bridge housing. The Fashion District needs a shelter. It was nigh onto impossible for me to take care of anything other than basic survival without shelter. I urge you to take this small step in the direction of changing the paradigm of homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing your story. We have Chloe Rome, followed by Sister Grace, followed by Suzette Shaw.
Good afternoon. My name is Chloe Rome, and I'm here from the Downtown Women's Center.
I'm here to show our strong support for the 1426 Paloma Bridge housing. Bridge housing is an urgently needed resource for the 11,000 women experiencing homelessness in the city of LA. A recent survey of women experiencing homelessness in Skid Row found that more than 90% had experienced some form of physical or sexual violence, many on a regular basis. The longer these women are forced to spend their nights on the streets of our city, the longer these horrific conditions will continue for them. This bridge housing will provide respite for women that they desperately need while they're in the process of obtaining permanent housing. We made history by passing Prop HHH. Now let's make sure that we can proactively house every woman on our streets. Thank you.
Thank you. Sister Grace, followed by Suzette Shaw, followed by Claudia Oliveira.
Hello, I'm Sister Grace, and I'm here to speak to those who oppose bridge housing. I'd also like to introduce you to someone. Meet Karen, and meet David. At any given time in America, there's 500,000 children in foster care. Every year, over 23,000 children are released from foster care. The majority of them turn into the streets, some as young as 13 years old. That's why I'm here. Who deserves a home more than those who have never had a house? So please, those who oppose bridge housing, please reconsider. These may not be your kids, but these are America's kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Suzette Shaw, Claudia Oliveira, followed by Michael Mangivar.
Good day. My name is Suzette Shaw. I am a Skid Row resident. I write, talk, and advocate Skid Row from a woman's perspective. I was displaced to Skid Row just over 6 years ago. I went from living in a $500,000 $1 million neighborhood around the corner from the country club to days, weeks, months later calling Skid Row home. I am the face of many women that you won't know through the pathology of the drive-by photography that you normally find of people, of who people perceive Skid Row as. I have met many women like myself that our stories intertwined by a single thread at the very least. Trauma, poverty, trauma, homelessness, all further exacerbated of more trauma by all the displaced that you have to go through of the monkey game trying to get housed. I went through several levels of housing prior to becoming permanently housed just over 2 years ago, even being at a women's safe house. My journey of putting myself back together as part of my bridge into health and human services is all connected to my permanent housing. I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks again for sharing your story as well. Thank you. Claudia Oliveira, followed by Michael Mangivar, and then Teresa Winkler.
Hi, thank you for getting my name right.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
First time. I'm Claudia Oliveira, Downtown Los Angeles Neighborhood Council. I'm here in my private capacity. I am here advocating for bridge housing because I think it's the missing piece for the bigger vision that we have for homelessness now and to fix this issue. I particularly love the Paloma site. I have visited, and I think it's an easy conversion. And if the landlord is willing to be cooperative, I think that we should jump into it. I also appreciate that you guys are getting home at last. They are a great service provider, and this is their first chance in downtown, and I think they're going to do a great job. They did tell me they will have 8 security people for the 115 people per shift, and I think that that's very refreshing. I yield back my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Menjivar, followed by Teresa Winkler, and then Ian Jameson.
Hi, good afternoon, council members. My name is Michael Menavar. I'm with the Southern California Association of Nonprofit Housing, that's SCANF. We represent some nonprofit developers of affordable and supportive housing throughout Southern California, and I'm just here today to say that we strongly support this bridge housing project here at Palomar in the Fashion District. As the city's leaders have been tremendous in passing new revenue generation measures to build affordable and supportive housing, but we do recognize that we need immediate short-term solutions if we are going to make a dent in our homeless and affordable housing crisis. Anything that we can do, especially with weather like this, to make someone's lives even just that more manageable is tremendous work. And so just here to say that we do strongly support this project, and we thank you for your leadership. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Teresa Winkler, Ian Jameson, and John Coe.
Hi, my name is Teresa Winkler, and I'm a formerly homeless woman who was on the streets for 25 years. I have housing today and have had it for the last 15 years thanks to affordable housing. I'm for the bridge project because there are too many women that are living on the street, and it's dangerous. It's too dangerous. There's too many people that are living on the streets, and it's just the bridge project will save a lot of lives from everything, from all of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Excuse me, Ian Jameson, John Coe, and then Alita Bernal.
Hi, my name is Ian Jameson. I'm the head of Pasadenans and Altadenians Against Police Violence, and I also work with Mel Tillich-Ratney on Shower of Hope. Regarding the NIMBY's classic argument that affordable housing lowers property values, all the studies show that it does not. It's really a counterintuitive conclusion when you think about it. You're getting people off the street. Well, it makes no sense. But beyond the property values argument, there's a moral, these are human beings. And we're talking about women being raped on a daily basis. We're talking about men being murdered by serial killers. These people are entitled to shelter from harm, from police brutality, and there's a moral imperative here to do the right thing. Anything short of that is unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. So that, Mr. Jameson, that was you, yes? Just then? Yeah. John Coe, followed by Alita Bernal, and then Maureen Bradley. Mr. Coe.
Good afternoon, Council. It's in response to Councilman Liu's question to Morton earlier. We believe that the city and the council and the committee should be greatly concerned about the process that's gotten us here up to this point, the lack of transparency and the lack of accountability and the lack of planning that's gone forth to this project. It has nothing to do with the merits of the project, but up to this point, especially as commented earlier in regards to canvassing, in regards to working with the bid, working with direct communications, none of that has properly happened in the district. And from my personal exploration, none of the business owners nor the property owners in the area are supporting of this initiative. And it's we've gone far too long down the road to now we're at the point of where actually the lease to move forward on this project has been approved. In the past, in the recent past, in the city meetings, to no avail, no documentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Just 1 minute per speaker, but thank you.
Certainly. Thank you.
Alita Bernal, followed by Maureen Bradley. Is Alita Bernal or Maureen? Okay, not here. All right. So now I understand Meg Barkley is here from CEO's office. Yes? And I understand you have a few things to present that include a minor amendment to the instructions.
Yes, I've provided the clerk with recommended committee action on this item. There are 3 documents on the 2 files that are on the council file today. So just in order to simplify, I've provided a consolidated set of recommendations relative to those 3 documents. So the first recommendation refers to the recommended CEQA language or CEQA findings that should be made to approve the Bureau of Engineering's recommendations to find that this project is exempt from the provisions of CEQA pursuant to guidelines that are listed here. The second set of recommendations refers to approving the recommendations in the motion, Wizarro-Farrell, to authorize the negotiation and execution of the lease with the owner of the property, and also a sublease with the provider that's expected to operate the facility on the property, for the CAO to negotiate and sign a letter of agreement with the county outlining the responsibilities of the city and the county and the operator pursuant to this arrangement, and then the other recommendations that are listed in the motion relating to the funding, specifically that the funding source would be from the State Homeless Emergency Aid Program and the account numbers and such that are listed here. And then the last recommendation, we recommend adopting recommendation 1 of the municipal facilities report. The second recommendation in that report refers to a different source of funding. This was approved before we had the HEAP funding, and the motion recommends using the HEAP funding, and that is what's recommended today. So we recommend only adopting recommendation 1 from the MFC report.
From the MFC report?
Yes.
Okay, that's exactly what I have as well. Thank you. So, just to be clear, the recommended action is to approve the motion with the CEQA findings, the negotiation of the lease and sublease, the funding source, and then...
And the funding amount, which is also updated from the MFC report as well.
All right, and all that information has been noted and articulated in black and white. All right, terrific. Thank you. Any questions or comments, colleagues? All right, so I'm going to recommend that we approve this action without objection. That'll be the order.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Schlageter, I just think perhaps your office sit down with Mr. Coe and other of the merchants who feel that they haven't, that they need to be outreached to a little more in conversation. And you don't have to account for that right now to me, but perhaps have those conversations on what the process will be like and what they can expect as we prepare this site, open this site, and what that process will entail.
Thanks. I do want to just commit publicly that we will have continuing stakeholder meetings, and I take your point very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, so we're approving this with the amendments.
Right. So we're approving the motion with the amendments as articulated by Ms. Barkley. Right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So that brings us to item 2, and we do have a comment. So, Mr. Reif, if you could read item 2, and we do have a comment on item 2.
Item 2, Proposition HHH Administrative Oversight Committee Report relative to Proposition HHH Fiscal Year 2017-18 Bond Issuance Quarterly Report, September 30th through December 31st, 2018, and First Status Report on Fiscal Year 2018-19, July 1st through December 31st, 2018 Bond Issuance.
Thank you. And Suzette Shaw has filled out a comment card specific to this item. Is Suzette Shaw still here and ready to comment on this item? Oh, yes, okay. Oh, that's all right.
So as someone who took part in campaigning for Prop HHH as well as Measure H, I just want to assist and support that funding be allocated to intentionally support the needs of housing and resources for those most disenfranchised. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Do we have Elise Matson and Tim Elliott here? Colleagues, I just have a few quick questions, and you may have as well. Thank you. Please present.
Good afternoon, Ed Gibson from Housing Community Investment Department, and yes, I'm joined by Tim Elliott from HCID and Elise Matson from the CA's office. We're here to give you an update of the quarterly report for HHH. I'll just give a quick overview over the top and allow them to go a little bit more into the details of how we are. The first bond issuance was done in 2017-2018 fiscal year. It was for the amount of $89 million. 87 of that was for permanent supportive housing projects, which were 9 projects at the time. Of those, there were also 4 facilities programs that went forth. In the second issuance in the 2018-19 fiscal year, as we track them, the issuance amount was $238 million, and there was $37 million for 22 HHH facilities projects. And there were 24 housing projects. Great progress has been made. This report is actually, as of the end of the calendar year, as you will, December, so we're actually a little bit further along, so I don't want others to be discouraged because even the new numbers are even better than this. So I'll allow Tim to go through a quick overview of where we are with each bond issuance.
In the first bond issuance, there was 9 projects. 8 of them are under construction. One of them at 88th in Vermont is almost half finished. The 9th project has a bond allocation and has to close by the end of June, but it's hopefully going to close in March. In the second bond issuance, there was 24 projects. 3 of those are under construction already. There's 2 others that are motel conversion projects that have closed their construction financing and should start construction by the end of the month. There are 7 other projects that should close by the end of the first quarter. In the report, it said that there were 3. 2 should close next week, and the project at Missouri and Bundy on the west side has had a funding delay and is going to have to apply for more bonds, and that'll put their closing date back into May, hopefully.
So the funding delay is clearly from other sources and not HHH.
Right. Well, they got the bids back, and they had sticker shock, and so we're going to have to find a source, and the way the tax code works is that 50% of the cost of the project has to be paid for by the tax-exempt bonds, and the cost has gone up so that their allocation doesn't meet that 50% test, so they have to go back and get more. So that's just a procedural thing but they're still on track.
Quick question for you, specific to Mr. Elliott. Do you have a date yet for the opening of Madison at Beverly, at the PATH?
Oh, PATH. The end of the year, 12/15.
Okay, in December of this year.
Yes, that's the projected date. Right.
Let's meet that projected date, man. Okay. All right. Please continue.
Hi, good afternoon. Elise Matson, CAO. So on the facility side, for the first bond issuance, $3.9 million has been expended. All 4 facilities projects that were authorized are under construction, one of which includes the city-sponsored Navigation Center in Council District 8, which started construction in November 2018. For the 18-19 issuance, 18 privately sponsored facilities projects were authorized. Our office is currently working on negotiating and executing service payback loans for those 18 projects. The report before you states that 2 of these contracts have been signed by the borrower and are pending city signatures. I'm happy to give you the update today that since this report was issued, we have executed those contracts as well as 2 more for a total of 4 additional facilities projects that can now begin construction. The remaining 14 privately sponsored projects are still under negotiation, and we will report back in the next quarterly report on additional projects that have closed. 3 additional city-sponsored projects that were authorized in the 2018-19 issuance. The Council District 4 Gardner Library project started construction in November, with completion expected at the end of July 2019. The next city-sponsored project is a hygiene and navigation center that will be constructed on DWP property in Council District 2. Construction for this project is expected to begin next month in March and be completed in October 2019. The final project is a navigation center that will be constructed in Council District 15. Construction is expected to begin next month in March and will be completed in March 2020.
Thank you.
In And we're prepared to answer any questions if you have.
Okay, so you're mentioning some of the start dates and finish dates, and that's all good. How overall does the schedule look, the completion schedule?
I will say that's a lot of detail. That's a lot of detail. If I back up to say, to date, there are 55 on the housing side. There are 55 approved projects, totaling 3,711 units in the pipeline. We currently have 11 projects currently under construction, and 2 more additional projects about to start construction for a great deal. A good number of the projects after that, some are prepared to move forward. Others are still gathering their other financing sources. So the county is expected to open up its No Place Like Home here in March, and a good number of our projects will be aligned with those. So shortly thereafter, we will have any more. I believe at this particular moment, I want to say there's at least another 7 we expect to close in the next 90 days. So we're on an extremely aggressive schedule. I know it's not fast enough for everybody, but due to the technical nature of these deals and a lot of lawyers and negotiating from all parties and planning, entitlement, zoning, it's quite the pace. So.
Not to mention local opposition.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And then, so the 7 that are closing soon, about how many units does that account for?
401 units.
And are those just, are they concentrated in any one area, or are they kind of spread out across the city?
We've tend to had great geographic representation. I don't have the exact council districts on this particular paper. It's definitely in our details. But overall, we've had spread out across the city. We try to encourage that. I will say part of the west side is still always a challenge, but we do have everybody pretty much represented almost at this moment in time. But the cost issues associated with land, and then you put that with the construction cost issues that are going on in today's market, where they continue to escalate on us, causes additional challenges, particularly when the land cost starts off so high.
And we are, though, especially as we're taking a look at the expenditure of all the funding left. It's already on the horizon right in front of us. Are we looking at city-owned properties as a priority?
City-owned properties that were...
Meaning parking lots and unutilized or underutilized city-owned properties?
We have. That started a couple of years ago, and so it's it's a very actually quite a long process. There's a whole group dedicated, along with working with the CAO inside the Housing Community Investment Department to move these sites to a place. I think the challenge is that we can either slow down and wait for some of those, or we can continue to move forward. We have a good number that are actually already in the pipeline.
Yeah, and I know one of mine is, but
and so we will figure those out in the next batch or cycle, but they can only come forward as soon as they have a developer and they have all the entitlements and everything they need to keep progressing. Otherwise, they can't close, and they're holding things back. So, but there are some in the pipeline with commitments.
Mr. Harris-Dawson.
So thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for your report and your continued push to make these projects get through. I just want to drill down a little bit more on price and build on what the chairman spoke about with projects on city property. And hopefully you guys can elucidate this. And I understand and appreciate that I've asked you this many times before, and I will ask you many times in the future if the price doesn't come down. So I have projects on city property, and they don't seem to be any cheaper than the ones where people are buying land. And I don't understand for the life of me why it works out that way.
Yeah, I will comment that when we look at a deal, when it gets to the desk here, that every deal is a little bit customized and has its own unique things. One of the things about city-owned property is it may have additional work that needs to be done, so you have additional entitlements and other types of activities, street vacations, those types of things. Then we're taking a look also at the zoning and the density that's going to be allowed on the site. If it's less dense, then they're going to be more expensive per unit. The challenges we're having lately is that projects are trying to increase the density. They they've gone over 5 stories. And the second they've gone over 5 stories, they trigger not just residential prevailing wage, but commercial prevailing wage. And that increases the cost over the top in those areas. Some of the DOT parking lots require reimbursement, and you have to redo the parking spaces, which also causes an increase in cost. So each of these have these unique challenges that every time we come in, you have to take a look.
But all of those things would be true on privately held land.
Not replacing parking. Yeah, well, that's why the prices are pretty much the same inside the density. But if I got a DOT lot and had to replace the parking lot, and I went out and bought a lot.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Barkley.
Hi, I'm Meg Barkley, City Homeless Coordinator. I think the other thing that it's hard to, or it's important to remember in the face of seeing these like pretty high per unit construction costs. There's the cost to build the unit, but then there's what it costs us, which is that subsidy amount, which is capped no matter what the per unit cost is at $220,000 a unit right now of HHH. And actually, on average, I think the average subsidy is closer to $150, which is close to what we were looking at wanting to cap it at before we realized we needed the supplemental.
So if that was the cap that we projected, and we're meeting that or coming in under it, then the concern that we hear that, we'll run out of money before we get to 10,000 units. How do those two things match up?
Yeah, I think what we need to do is get the numbers from HSID as well, of that, because I think that the 10,000 units also should include the units that we're financing outside of Prop HHH, which are not in these quarterly reports. And so I think the big picture, we may be getting closer than we think we are. And also the state bond measure, or the state, I think it was Proposition 2.
Yep.
No Place Like Home.
Yep.
Now that subsidy is going to be coming online, I think we'll see our per unit subsidy coming down. And again, it's the difference between what it costs to build the unit and what it costs the city, which is that subsidy amount. And that is the same relative, or the rules apply. The same rules apply regardless of what that per unit construction cost is.
Sure. So that's going to be an important thing to address. Hopefully you all can address it in your next report, because some of our partners in the media have been stating it as fact that if we continue to go like we go, we won't meet our number. What you just described suggests that no matter how high the per unit cost is, we can meet our number as long as we stay to the amount that we set for subsidies, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Given as Meg had said it, when you combine the two pipelines that we have together, that answer is yes, we come very close. We only put in so much per subsidy per unit, and that's just as much. That's all we put in. And so even if the unit gets a little bit higher, they still have to plug that gap. Our concern about that high cost unit is where are you getting those other sources? And until recently, until 1 and 2 were passed, it was really just the city and what was left of the county's development money helping us get along. And the county wasn't necessarily putting a lot of money on the development side. Services, yes. Development, no. With the No Place Like Home funds, we now have the true leveraging source that we truly expected when we started this program. And the sheer fact is we're still on target with the numbers, given everything that's been done to date, with that leveraging amount being at 150, 157, I believe, right now.
Thank you. Last question, Mr. Chair. Have you all, or you all in conjunction with anybody in the mayor's office, looked at the possibility of opportunity zone funding being available for any of our projects, or many of our projects in the future?
I've had a good number of conversations about opportunity zones as we still wait for the full regulations to come out. One of the challenges with affordable housing is how it's actually structured. So with opportunity zones, they're investing for a short amount of time, then they're cutting their capital gains by investing for that period of time, and then they leave. When you invest in affordable housing, you're pretty much in for 55 years, and that doesn't quite meet the structure of an opportunity zone investor. So until we see the final regulations come out, it's difficult to figure out how we can best incorporate that funding inside of there. Conversations have taken place, well, maybe it's on the preservation side where we're trying to save some expiring covenants, and perhaps we want to go just like another decade out on those, and that might work. But we just have to see those regulations. That starts to get technical in tax code real quick.
Excellent. We're counting on the Trump administration for this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, this meeting's adjourned. No, just kidding. So it'll be interesting to see when you can factor in some of these other subsidies that are coming through, including other local sources, perhaps. CDBG, are we using any of the funding from what's left of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, for example? So it'll be interesting. Our goal is 10,000, and that is what voters voted on. They voted on 10,000 units. Whether it's fair or not with the campaign, or no matter how everyone feels, that's what voters voted on. So it's rests on our shoulders to deliver. And so it'll be interesting to see if you can incorporate these factors into the numbers moving forward. Part of it's anticipation, but as the smoke clears and we know what kind of funding that we're looking at, it'll be nice to get a more clear picture.
Yeah. When HHH was designed and looked at, it looked at all those funding sources that we've seen, all sources that we thought might be showing up, including the National Housing Trust Fund. And we designed it to make sure that we could leverage every single dollar out there and making sure the flexibility was there. We made most important that to make sure that with regards to tax credits, that we aligned with who provided the equity and was not limited in source, so we would not be constrained, which is why we use 4% tax credits. So as these sources have just now come online, with the work we've already, it's the bonus, it's the help. We're glad to have them show up, and we're ready for them and to incorporate them in our projects.
And is someone in your shop taking a forensic look at costs? Forensic, because the concern is when voters pass a $1.2 billion bond, it's going to attract some opportunists who are going to leverage some contracts and possibly not for the best intentions. And you know where I'm going. So, everyone gets a little suspicious, if I may, say that when we're talking, the units are now going up to 500,000-600,000 a unit. That just sounds really inflated, and something seems very wrong about that, especially with respect to built on city property. So you understand our concern.
Absolutely. We have the exact same concern, and I was going to say, this is always a challenge with staffing and everything else, but one of the key things is when you say 600,000, honestly, you can ask Tim here. When you say 600,000 to me, I'm like, what is that about? What's going on?
You can build a 2,000 square foot brand new home for that much money on a 5,000 square foot lot.
And then we get in, yes, you can. And then we get into the type of construction, which is that type of construction, wood frame, cement slab on the ground. When we talk about this multifamily and most of these going into commercial zones for which the first floor has to be commercial because that's how the zoning works, and then you put a podium which has a great deal of cost, and then semi-subterranean because you have to have a certain amount of parking spaces, and then you build from there. If you stay four over a podium, then you're residential. When you go over that, then we change the type of construction. When you go too high, then we go to steel. So every time we have this, it's a one-off conversation about what is going on with the project and what exactly is the density that we're getting to the cost. And then you haven't even heard the word, but I didn't even mention PLA because I didn't say we actually went over 65. I just said we went up because maybe it was a smaller lot. There are answers, and then there's still concerns even when you get the answers. And so when you say, keep an eye on them, I agree. We try to keep an eye because there's a lot of moving pieces here, and we want to make sure that the money went the right way.
I appreciate that answer. I'm wondering aloud, are we dropping the ball on one side of things? Because some of those regulations, the city itself controls. For example, on some of the surface lots that we build on, maybe DOT doesn't need those spaces replaced. Some of them they certainly do, and I get that, but not all. And so that's a department that we control. So I would argue that needs to be looked at. not that we're going to all of a sudden take up all the parking in our merchant commercial areas. No, I'm not talking about that. But other engineering requirements. So have we sifted through what's local and what's not local in terms of what we have control over, and where we, the city, could actually take a fresh look at those requirements, considering this is our number one priority and our number one crisis?
I think we can do a more extensive job. We've done the one-offs. You know, if you say DOT, my first question is, are we having to replace parking spaces? Because that cost is very expensive. If you tell me something's on the land and we have to do relocation, that cost is very expensive. So we have these one-off issues. I can't say that there's been a full comprehensive look across the spectrum.
Okay, well, that's something that we can look at. That's something we can work with. We can take a comprehensive look at what, in the entitlement process, the city has jurisdiction over, and what, in the entitlement process, we have no jurisdiction over, and just take a look at what that tells us. Perhaps with that exercise, we could take a look at reducing some costs.
Perhaps so, because time is money. I will give the certain kudos to planning. We work with planning on the permanent supportive housing ordinance and the TOC, which are things that when we said we needed some assistance, you know, we worked with planning and those came, you know, one got tied up in litigation, so it slowed down. But they're important to help us through the process, and that includes even the interim motel conversion ordinance, which was, we may not have been financing those, but increasing the number of units out there is always helpful, whether we put $1 in it or not. So I give them credit, because we worked with them and they worked hard to get those things to assist, and I appreciate that.
I've hogged the microphone. Mr. Rue? Good. All right. So thank you so much for this report. I look forward to the conversations. I'm going to explore, we'll explore taking a look at some of these questions that were raised and see what we can do. So recommendation to receive and file this report, and we look forward to your next one. Thank you. I do believe that is all the items on this agenda. There are some general public comments. Now, but the chamber is pretty much cleared of a lot of people who already spoke. I know that Mel Tillicrodney left, so going once, going twice. Suzette Shea. One named Castro. Allison Schocklert. Okay, thank you. Maureen Bradley. All right, so let the record reflect it. Okay, now Velvet Victorian. That's you, all right. And I believe Alita Bernal and Maureen Bradley, are you here? Okay, so just Ms. Victorian.
I was previously homeless and I benefited from bridge housing. And right now I'm living off of 52nd and Grand Avenue. And every time I walk out my door, I see somebody in a tent. When I look out my kitchen window, I see somebody in a tent. And I want you guys to figure out how to get rid of some of this red tape that's preventing people from being housed. Now, I wanted to have a homeless resource fair because we have Hoppix right around the corner. But outside their back door are hundreds of homeless people. And I see case managers coming by giving out things, but people are not getting housed. And I'm tired of looking at it. And I'm tired of the red tape that goes along with it. So whatever you guys have to do, but I want some action. I'll be watching. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, that is all of our public comment cards. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you. So I was just thinking aloud.